likely didn't understand my short Polish introduction. I was just saying that the relationship between money and arts is very contentious. There's so much money involved in art, yet never enough to go around for everyone. Cultural institutions often find themselves held hostage to government funding and subject to the whims of ever-changing administrations. However, following Boris's exercise of freedom, I wanted to get us started with a little exercise of imagination. What would you all do at your respective institutions if money was not an issue and the budget was boundless? I'm looking at Justyna. I will start with you.
Good afternoon. Money is simply a means to stop thinking about the money. But I'm not sure if I want to have a boundless budget. I would prefer to have like a secure, long-lasting funding for all my activities to fulfill the mission. But during the exercise, let's start that I would to prepare Zachęta to be the institution of the future. I would spend the money for developing the people around Zachęta, the employees, the societies around us. Also, we can go in R&D, and also we can go with some sustainability, all with the respect of the rich history.
Sorry, Karolina, could you say how is it in the world of theater?
Okay, I come from performing arts, and this is quite different story because we are mostly subsidized by public funds, and we have non-private funds. And this is quite difficult because we are not very attractive for private funds and for business. I don't know why. Because in fact we are high-end artistic institutions, but the paying off is not enough like for business. Mm-hmm. And your question was what we would do if we had like a lot of money.
Exactly, so funding was not an issue.
So the sky is the limit, I would say. And, you know, we are in charge of many artists, and we are also responsible for like artistic schools and like the people who are entering the work world. Mm-hmm. And I would probably build bridges between like Poland, Europe, not only Europe, but the world, and
transnational corporations.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I would also try to support like young artists, because there is a big need, because they are like finishing schools and enter in a deep void. Mm-hmm. In performing arts, you know, there is no proposal for them. So that's my response.
Wonderful. Joanna, you're just about to give to the public a wonderful building in the center of Warsaw. What would you do with the leftover budget, if there's any?
I definitely shouldn't complain about budget, as we are going to open on the 25th of October.
Save the day.
Save the day, exactly. The new building, which costed 700 million zloty of public money. So this is a huge investment. And this is maybe the occasion to stress that we are working in a quite a unique system here in Poland, that we have a huge public funding for the public institutions. And in our budget, the private sources are less than 7%. So this is probably unique, and maybe it's worth to discuss how we can keep that model, because it's obviously giving what Boris was discussing in his speech, a huge autonomy for artists, curators, and all cultural workers. But nevertheless, if we could have a no-limit budget, what Karolina said is extremely important, that from one hand, institutions are blossoming in Poland, but from the other hand, the cultural workers are very badly paid. And we are in Warsaw, for instance, facing a strike of trade union on that subject, and they are very right. And it's a huge negotiation how to work with that issue. Plus social security of artists. This is not solved at all. So of course we have artists who are successful on the market, but this is a tiny percent of especially younger scene. So this is a huge issue which is not in fact on the scope of art institutions, but that this is the milieu we are working with. So from one hand, it's quite a lot of money, public money, but from the other hand, artists and cultural workers are definitely underpaid. And so this system needs a balance, and this is probably also a challenge from the private sector. This is not only about the prices of the iconic artworks, it's also about people. And without this balance, we will face the crisis, which will be a division, which will be probably alternative art scene. Maybe this is not so bad, but always it will end up with the conflict if we will not think about the whole scene.
Yes, this is also like the political responsibility, and we are very counting on the new government.
Is everyone hearing here? This is the call to action of this panel, to get everyone on board and support. So maybe let me ask you, Boris, given the lack of extensive programs for public-private cooperation in Poland, what steps, from your perspective, do you believe should be taken to better support such partnerships?
Well, one thing for sure is the tax system. So I'm not informed about the tax system in Poland, but in the moment donations to the art world become tax deductible, you are in a completely different ball game. And I think this has to be considered, because that gives corporates the possibility then to invest more or do more sponsoring or whatever, because it has a tax benefit with it. But what I think is necessary is the awareness that art is an existential part of the freedom of a society, independently from the fact if there's a tax deduction or not. It should be understood as something which represents the creativity, the narrative we assemble around culture. Just imagine the fact we get rid of all the cultural institutions in our state. What would Poland then be? What would Austria be?
It wouldn't be Poland, it wouldn't be Austria.
It wouldn't be
as it
Austria, right? So we have to understand this existential and essential value of the arts in a free society. And then it has to be the responsibility of every corporate, because they don't benefit if societies change into authoritarian states. They don't, right? Some friends do, but the corporate world doesn't at the end of the day, because there's no rule of law anymore. And then the game is over, right? So I think understanding the art is such an existential and essential thing in the society, also for future generations, to understand those narratives, to see the archives, to know where we come from, and that we value that we know that we come from. And an open society needs this kind of public discourse on some crucial issues which concern our identity. And that's the arts. Because every other every other institutional body taking part in this discourse is interest-driven, not the arts. And I think this is a high quality we have to understand. And there's one mistake which is done. Usually, when you have private money coming into the art field, they treat you as somebody fulfilling the mission of private money. Mm-hmm. And this is a huge mistake. Because then what happens is that you get alienated and you have your conflicts and you misunderstand what the role of the arts is in society, right? And I saw tons of projects who failed because, as I said in the beginning, there was no ethics of differentiation between the spheres. And this is what creates freedom. If everything was one, everything would be religion. But I think we passed that moment in history of European civilization saying that everything is religion. No, there's free media, there's science, and there's the arts. And I think these spheres have to be clearly separated from each other in order to fulfill the full power of their creativity. And this is what corporates usually don't understand, but they have to be taught in order to understand exactly that, that their money is not there for their interest, but their money is there to do and create a better world.
That actually brings me to the next question, which was, can financial support coexist with complete artistic creative freedom, or does it always come with an implicit expectations? Can cultural institutions maintain their integrity and independence amidst the pressure from, strong supporters or like political influences? And you could think of the perspective of the last 8 years, under the stifling political climate of the former political regime. And I'm curious if you could share some of your experiences and reflections.
If I might start. Obviously, last 8 years was quite a hard experience, but from other hand, we were benefiting from this division between the central and the local governments, and we could play as a art institution with the, not always it was possible, but this difference, these different realms, different bodies, that's what led at least some of the art initiative, art institution, art organization to kept the autonomy. But with the private partners, with the private sponsor, it's always a case of negotiations. Public institutions are very careful about social responsibility of the business, and this is part of our mission, and especially in the system when most of money is coming from the public sources, this mission is even more important. So, but we have a lot of great experience with all partners which have a clear policy. When we share the values, we want to work on the values of a progressive society, great architecture, urban issues. This is possible, but that is working with the several centers, several sources. This is probably the key element, that we are not depending on the one.
So also like diversifying the source of the funding. Mm-hmm.
Also, if I can add,
Yes.
the managers of cultural institutions started to speak like a business, economic language, because we are also the part of the economy, and we are the sector, the creativity sector. It's a huge one now, and it's influenced. It's very, very important, and we are, grow the other industries and businesses. If we are if it's understandable for everybody, it's easy to talk.
Yeah, of course, the different sources are like this is the most important, like for a good
strategy.
Strategy, exactly. Thank you. But according to my experience, I never had any problem with independency with public sources, even with the last government, because this is a know-how, we already know, okay? But with the private money, yes, because it was a question of private view or perspective, and this is a way to elaborate. This is a work we have to do with the private business to explain what is that we have a same goal and same perspective, and we have to work together. And this is not a caprice of someone that wants to support an artist. Yes, this is not a 19th century perspective. Mm-hmm. This is a 21st century perspective that we are fighting for some cultural field, which is for common. For everyone.
Absolutely, and it's not about boosting an ego of one particular sponsor who feels the need to be embellished on the building.
Right.
And yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Culture matters. That's why it's a social responsibility, I think.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, Boris, would you like to add something to it? Artistic integrity, creative freedom. I know you've had a whole lecture.
I think this is what I mentioned with the ethics of difference, right? And I think this is something which has to be learned. From my point of view, from the interests of a company, art has to be the most far away, because then there is dynamics coming back. And in the dynamics coming back, this is where discourse happens, surprises happen, where you get to know new things. You know, I can tell you a story. 20 years ago, one of our banks in our banking group, they funded a film festival in the Czech Republic, Pilsen, right? A great film festival. And I went there and I couldn't believe my eyes, because I saw left and right from the screen, up and down commercials, right? Like, you know, really. So I went there and asked the director, how can this happen? And the film director said, well, you know, the sponsor said we have to be there. And I said, you take this down immediately, because it really hurts the ethical space of an art world if you put your transparency right, left and right on the screen. And I had lots of discussions with the marketing director, because he didn't understand it all, because his interest was a different one. I want to create, you know, visibility of the sponsor, right? But I think this is a matter of professionalism at the end of the day, and of the responsibility and the understanding and awareness of the people who lead such corporate companies or institutions, to understand the value, the real value of the arts and what it adds into the quality of society, and at the end of the day also to the quality of the representation of the company. You know, it's a social value. And, you know, the economical value without a social value is, I don't know, buy a sailboat on the Bahamas and be happy. But the economical value with the social value adds something to society, which again then contextualizes your brand in a completely different sphere and opens up communications you wouldn't have if you wouldn't go into such a partnership.
I can add something, because we have experience as a Museum of Modern Art to collaborating with the Erste Foundation, with the Contact, and Boris is one of the founders of this foundation. And of course, miracles can happen. This foundation is supporting the most radical, the most progressive art projects, and it looks that it's even your brand, that if it's more progressive, better. So we have a chance to show the performative program on the opening of the museum on 25th of October, thanks to your support. So,
can you say a little bit more about it, or just leaving us with a little cliffhanger for now?
Go there and have a look.
Yes, that's true. So we will open with the building basically without installing exhibition, without installing collections. We want to give a chance to have this moment of welcome, and we are opening with the intensive performative program. So over 100 artists are going to be there, perform, intervene into the space, and that's for 3 weeks for the opening in October. So please join us.
Sounds incredible, something to look forward to. We only have 90 seconds left. I've started with a little exercise of imagination, and now I'd like to stretch the time, but I guess we only have time for closing remarks. If there's anything you feel you would like to add to the conversation, any call to action. We're in a very particular space with a very different audience than we're used to in the conversations that we hold.
I would say art and culture is super important. This is the base of our beings. And this is my closing phrase.
I will say it again, culture matters.
Culture matters.
I think that we could work on the respect on the public mission of the institution, that would really improve the way how art and money can collaborate.
Big topic.
Yes. Finally, you who are sitting here, you're all taxpayers. You make sure that you elect governments who put enough funding into the arts. Okay, is that the deal? Perfect.
That's the deal.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.